One of the last 7 words of Jesus on the cross was exactly, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, in one of the moments when he was persecuted and fought against and hurt, he also said, My Lord, forgive my people, for indeed they do not know. These are an example from two people that influenced and were able to change a lot of lives, who were fought against, discriminated, excluded from society, and they still chose forgiveness. They still chose this very powerful emotion. Hating your enemy doesn't hurt them, it only poisons you. And hate is a secondary emotion. It's never the first emotion. It's not there in our baseline system, in our normal day-to-day emotional capabilities. Hatred, and specifically the emotion of wanting to hurt someone or take revenge, stems always as a secondary emotion to disappointment, to being done wrong, to having your trust broken. It's always a reactionary emotion. And revenge, it feels powerful for a moment, right? For a moment, you feel like you gained back the control that you lost when you were done wrong, when you were disappointed by someone. But forgiveness, that's what makes you feel free forever. It's an emotion, it's always a decision. Because whenever you want to take revenge, want to be forgiving, you're going to have to take that active decision. Because I promise you, revenge takes a lot of action to be able to ensure that you get your revenge on someone. And in this video, I want to discuss the importance of forgiving your enemies, of forgiving people that did you wrong. Now, a very important thing is, I want to define forgiveness. I want to define what does it mean for me personally when you want to forgive your enemy. Forgiveness isn't excusing what someone did. It isn't letting them back into your life. It isn't at all being someone that accepts being walked all over. Don't get it wrong at all. Most of the people that forgave a lot are still people that are extremely powerful, that are extremely capable, that have this capability of seeking that revenge, right? Every single person that forgave when they had the option to take revenge, these are the strong people. In Islam, there's a quote about the importance of strength, right? And the Prophet said that strength isn't really being able to wrestle someone, to bring them to the floor, or to be able to break someone down. Strength is when you're able to control your anger and emotion. And forgiveness is letting go of the control that they still have over your emotions. It's very important to understand that when someone does you wrong, or when someone does something that hurts you, it talks more about them than you. If you've ever been cheated on, if you've ever been taken advantage of, if you've ever been disappointed by your friends, backstabbed, it never really says anything about you as a person, right? It always says everything about that other person. So you need to understand that, are you gonna let a person projecting who they are onto you cause you to change who you are? That's the question you should ask yourself every single time you have this crossroad between forgiveness and revenge. And for me, why forgiveness matters a lot, it's 3 main big categories. First of all, the emotional freedom that it gives you, and the power of regaining control, and the growth and strength that it gives you. So for emotional freedom, anger and resentment, they drain your mental energy. And I've been in the shoes of someone that wanted to take revenge. I've been in the shoes of someone that had anger, that had the resentment in his heart. And I know from experience how much energy you're going to devote into that, how much you're going to be an angry person, how much you're going to be driven by hatred. Some people like to argue the fact that anger sometimes is good because it can push you over the limit of what you're capable of doing, right? Sometimes if you're done wrong by someone, specifically I see this a lot on Instagram and TikTok, where it's like, this girl did me wrong, now I'm gonna make her pay. I'm gonna. It's all stemming from anger. It's not stemming from a point of self-love. You're not saying, okay, I'm gonna do this because I love myself or because I deserve it. No, I'm gonna do this to prove someone wrong. So by doing that, you're still giving your enemy control over you without noticing. So you're still having this point where your enemy is not thinking about you at all, but you're carrying them around in your head. You're giving them real estate in your head. And that for me, it's really like drinking a poison and you're expecting the other person to die, which makes no sense. Which drives me to my next point, regaining control. If your happiness depends on whether your enemy suffers or apologizes or comes back into your life and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have stayed with you," and all these types of scenarios in your head, you've given them power. You're taking the passenger seat in your own life and in your own emotional state. And I promise you, when you're being in the passenger seat of your own emotional state, you're gonna go to locations that you don't wanna go to. You're gonna find yourself in places where it doesn't align with who you are. 1 year might pass and you're gonna look back and say, I did so much damage. I took so many decisions out of a point of anger. Here I'm finding myself in a place I do not recognize because you lost control over yourself. Forgiveness is taking that power back. It's saying, enough. I understand that what happened hurt me. And it's very true. And I'm going to give you an example. So a breakup where you stay bitter, it's where it shows you that your ex is still controlling your emotions long after they're gone. And as I've discussed in my other videos, I've been through a breakup. And of course, when you go through a breakup, you loved someone so much, it's difficult to not have some sort of hatred. It's very difficult because you're going to tell yourself, I give everything to that person and they couldn't change for me and everything, right? And the very important part is understanding that there's no enemies. There's unhealed people. No one in their heart is a horrible human being. We all can become better. So we all have this, even if it's 1% of goodness in our heart, we all have it. So you need to understand that the person in front of you isn't someone that is just an enemy. He's maybe an unhealed person. Maybe the person I was with couldn't give me what I wanted exactly, right? And that's something called disalignment. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean anything about them really. Maybe they went through some stuff that caused them to be like that. Maybe some people, they went through horrible stuff as children that caused them to really be controlling, manipulative. Maybe it's because people act upon the love that they've known all their lives. And some people didn't know any love. And when you're coming at something that's so raw, so scary, love is very scary, opening up to people. So when this happens, you need to understand that in reality, the moment you forgive that person and cut them out of your life is when you're starting to win. And forgiveness isn't weakness. It takes more strength to release anger than to hold on to it. It's very easy to get consumed by hatred, to get consumed by the social media content about hating this person and all my enemies are gonna pay and everything. True strength is rising above this need for revenge. And this is why I invoked Jesus and Muhammad, peace be upon him, because of how they forgave people. They forgave their oppressors to build something greater, right? They understood that a heart that has place for hatred could not have place for love. You cannot have a heart that is looking at people with love, with hope, while you're still having so much hatred in your soul. Hence why it's so important that to make a distinction between what am I going to forgive and how am I going to forgive. Once again, we're not saying to forgive people and let them back into your life. I forgave my ex and she's exactly out of my life in every aspect of it. And she's never gonna have access to my life ever again. Does it mean I hate her or I want to take my revenge upon her? Not at all. I understand that we were people, we gave a chance to a relationship, it didn't go as we wanted. It's God's plan. Sometimes sometimes God isn't going to give you exactly what you want because you never know what you really want as a person, right? Sometimes because of attachment issues, because of the way you were brought up, you're going to see something that is hurtful to you, but you're going to only see the good side of it. And sometimes God has to remove that from your life for you to realize and say, oh, Okay, I see. Now I understand it. And the very important thing is to be able to forgive people totally and yet take this action of removing them from your life. And I will, I'll give you a small example. If a snake were to bite me and it went away, of course I forgive that snake. It's the nature of the snake to bite me, right? I won't spend all my days plotting a revenge plot against the snakes and telling myself that no matter what happened, I'm gonna take my revenge. Not at all. What you have to do is you owe yourself forgiving other people. You don't owe it to them. You shouldn't care about the external factors. The only factor is, you know what? I love myself so much that I'm gonna forgive that person for me to be able to move on. I'm gonna forgive them because even if you let someone in your brain as like you hating them, they're still in your brain. They're still in your heart. They're still in your soul. And sometimes you just need to be able to say, you know what? I'm gonna come from a point of reflection. I'm gonna understand that we're all faulty people, we're all sinners. And I get that I'm not perfect and this person isn't perfect. So I forgive you. I forgive you and I'm cutting your access to me and I'm protecting myself. So one thing that I will tell people to be able to understand this video is if I forgive, I'm letting them win. That's not at all the case. Forgiveness means that they can't hurt you anymore. Forgiveness means I trust them again. Not at all. You can forgive and keep distance. Forgiveness is instant. Not at all. Sometimes it's a process of years. Sometimes it took me years to forgive myself for some mistakes I've done. Even though I've been able to analyze them and understand why I did them, it still took me so much time to forgive the man in the mirror. And one thing I'll give as practical applications is practice empathy. Try to see their actions as a reflection of their own pain, their own problems, not your self-worth. And do a lot of journaling. Sometimes, me personally, I remember I wrote a journaling letter about my breakup, about some stuff that I wanted to forgive. And at the end, I wrote, I forgive you now. And I just ripped that paper. Some people burn the paper. Some people, they pray, they meditate. For me, it was prayer. When I started praying and I noticed that I was asking God for forgiveness, I was like, why should God forgive me if I'm not able to forgive the people around me, right? I'm a sinner and so are they. I'll forgive them because that's what's good for me and that's what I would want God to do for me. Set boundaries. Forgive, but protect yourself. One thing I'm going to say at the end is forgiveness isn't not about them. It's about you. It's about your peace, your freedom, your future. And I want to tell you one little thing before I wrap it up. Think of one person you've been holding anger against. And imagine what your life would feel like if you finally let it go. If you finally told yourself, you know what, I can let it go. I forgive you and I release you from my life. You no longer have a hold over my life. Thank you so much for staying with me through this video. I do believe that forgiveness is a very important thing. And in my journey to becoming a bit of a better man than yesterday, forgiveness has helped me a lot and it helped me release some stuff that wasn't good for me. Stay in tune for the next video where I'm gonna discuss a bit more about the importance of faith, and I'm gonna be able to show you forgiveness in faith and how important it is to maintain. Thank you all for watching and see you in the next video.